Great. I'm getting my. I'm just getting the screen up. I've got something at 11 and 12. Sure. Okay, so I'm we're live on YouTube and I've got the page up. So let's go. So we're starting at Mishnah Gimel. Let's pause out this music. Welcome everyone. Yes. Let's just yeah, so we're gonna all right. So we already did the first Mishnah in Perek Gimel, and now we're doing, like you just said, the second Mishnah. Right. So this is what shofar is used for Rosh Hashana. I've got a shofar here with me. Okay. So kol ha-shofrot ksherin. Chutz mishapara, all shofars are kasher except for that of a cow. B'pnei shehu keren, because it is called a keren, a horn. Amar Rabbi Yossi questions this, and he says, V'alo kol ha-shofarat nikru keren, all shofrot are called a keren. Shenemar in Yoshua b'mishoch b'keren hayovel. When they make a draw out blast with the keren on the yovel, the jubilee. So that's talking about a shofar. I read the full pasuk there. We can look it up. There's talking about a shofar, and it calls it a keren as well. So I think the accepted understanding of this Mishnah is that they end up is that they actually end up agreeing. It's just that Rav Yossi's question is solved because a cow's horn is called only a keren, whereas a ram's horn or an ibex's horn is called a shofar and a keren. So being called a keren is not the problem. It's just that it needs to also be called a shofar. I don't know if that's clear. Rabbi Yossi says the Mishnah starts off in saying you cannot use a cow's horn because a cow's horn is not a shofar, it's a keren. Rabbi Yossi asks, what do you mean? All shofars are called kerens, right? So the answer is that the Talmud explains the response. The answer is that yes, all shofars are called kerens, but a cow is exclusively called a keren. It's not called a keren and a shofar. It's called only a keren. Anyway, so that's we see here that you need to use a shofar which is also called a shofar, not a cow's horn which is only called a keren. Okay, Mishnah Gimel. Shofar shel Rosh Hashana shel Yael. The shofar used on Rosh Hashana is of a Yael. Yeah, live. Pashut upiv mitzupe zahav. It is straight. Yael is the ibex. It is straight. I think the Yemenites use these. I think. Upiv mitzupe zahav. Its mouth was overlaid in gold. Ushtei chatzotzrot min atzadim, and there were two trumpets, I believe, of silver, on the sides of the shofar, surrounding the shofar blower. Shofar marich, the shofar would give a long blast. The chatzotzrot mekatzrot, and the trumpets would give short blasts. I have seen some of the Betel Kotel Tunnel tour Minyan, not tour, but Kotel Minyan. They have their own chatzotzrot. Some of those Mekubalim, they come to the Kotel with their own trumpets. These are silver trumpets. And I've heard that some of that chevra in the Temple Institute, they're recreating these trumpets and learning to use them to prepare for the temple, because that was part of the mitzvah, right? So mitzvah tayom b'shofar, the mitzvah of Rosh Hashana in the Beit HaMikdash was the shofar. The chatzotzrot were not the main thing, so they were on the sides. Okay. Mishnah Daled. Bataniot b'shel zcharim, on fast days, when there was no mitzvah of a shofar, they would use the shofar of a ram, which is kfufin, which is curved, bent over, upihen mitzupa kesef, and the mouth would be overlaid in silver. Ushtei chatzotzrot be'emtza, and you would have two trumpets in the middle between them. So I guess you'd have like two shofars and maybe two trumpets in between them. Notice for the first Mishnah, for the third Mishnah, Mishnah Gimel, it says it's one shofar, it's singular. Shofar shel Rosh Hashanah shel, the shofar, singular. But for the fast days, it's multiple. Taniyot b'shel zicharim kfufin, it's all plural. Shofar makatzer v'chatzotzrot ma'arichot. The shofar would give a short blast, and the trumpets would give long blasts. Shemitzvat hayom b'chatzotzrot, because the mitzvah of a fast day is to blow trumpets, not shofars.
Okay, I'm gonna pop now, and
Okay, would love to. Have a great day, Shmuel. Great evening. Bye-bye. So I'm going to continue for the sake of all you YouTubers. Shava hayovel Rosh Hashanah la takia v'la brachot. The Yovel, the Jubilee, it has the same laws as Rosh Hashanah with regards to blowing the shofar and to the blessings made in the shofar. Just as on Rosh Hashanah we blow the shofar, we make blessings. On the Jubilee, there's similarly a mitzvah to blow the shofar. We currently don't do this, but in the time of the temple we will. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rosh Hashanah token b'shel zcharim uvayovlot b'shel ye'elim. So we said in the previous two Mishnahs that in Rosh Hashanah we use ye'elim, the ibexes, and on Taniot, we use the zcharim, the rams. Rabbi Yehuda here is saying that on Rosh Hashanah we use the rams, and on the Yovel we use the ye'elim, the ibex. Okay. Shofar shenizdak v'dibko pasul. So this is the halachot of a shofar that broke and was repaired. A shofar that was split and was stuck back together is invalid. Dibek shivrei shofarot pasul. If you stick together pieces of a shofar, it is similarly invalid. Nikav ustamo, if it got a hole and was sealed. Im akev et takia, if it takes away from the blowing, pasul, it is invalid. V'imlav kasher, and if it doesn't take away from the blowing, it is kasher. Now it's a question, what take away from the blowing is that after it was fixed, it still negatively affects the blast, or was it that before it was fixed, the hole negatively affected the blast? There are those who say both ways. Mishnah Zayin, Mishnah 7. Hatokea l'toch habor. There's a very fascinating Mishnah, the source of some practical halachot, such as whether you can hear mitzvah through the telephone, or whether you have to answer Amen if you hear a bracha made over a phone. Hatokeya letocha bor, one who blows the shofar into a pit, or letocha dut, or into a cistern, or letoch hapitas, or into a jug. Im kol shofar shama, if you hear the voice of the shofar, you are yotze. Vim kol havara shama, but if you hear the echo, lo yatsa, even if you're hearing the voice of the shofar, but if you're also hearing the echo, then you're not yotze. V'chein mishahaya over achore beit knesset. Similarly, one who is behind the shul, oshaya beito samach beit knesset, or like my first apartment, your house was right next to the shul. V'shama kol shofar al kol megillah, and you can hear the shofar or the megillah. Im kiven libo yatsa vim lav yotze lo yatsa. If you give intention to your heart, then you have fulfilled your obligation. But if you do not, you just hear it, then you have not fulfilled your obligation. You're walking behind the shul and you hear the shofar in Rosh Hashana. You haven't fulfilled your obligation unless you give a moment to intend to fulfill your obligation. Even though both of you heard the same thing, Zakiven Libo was a low Kiven Libo. One of you gave intention and one of you didn't. So we have two laws given in this Mishnah. The first one is one who hears a echo is not Yotzei the mitzvah. And we can understand this because you have to hear the, well, I'm not going to give reasoning now. I don't know. I didn't look it up. And the next Mishnah, the next halacha here given is that if one were to inadvertently hear the shofar or the Megillah, he is not going to fulfill his obligation unless he takes the moment to give intention to his heart. Okay, let's do one more Mishnah. Mishnah 8. V'haya kasher yarim Moshe yado. And it was when Moshe raised up his hands, the Gavar Yisrael and the Jewish people were overpowering, were prevailing. This is when the Amalek attacked the Jewish people as they were in the desert leaving Egypt. And Joshua went out to wage war or on the Amalekites. And Moshe was on the top of the mountain. And when he would raise up his hands, the Jewish people would win. And when he would lower them down, they would lose. So this is the Mishnah here. V'ki yadav shel Moshe osot milchama. There's a very famous Mishnah. Was it the hands of Moshe that were doing war? Oshovrot milchama. Was it Moshe's hands that had the ability to wage war or to break their ability to wage war? Elalomar lecha. This is what it's telling us. Kulzman shaha Yisrael mastaklim klape mala. Whenever the Jewish people were looking up to heaven, similarly to the last Mishnah, if you gave a moment to intention your heart, whenever the Jewish people were looking up to heaven, umishabdim et libam lavim sheba shemayim, and subjugating their hearts to their fathers and to their Father in heaven, hayum et gabrim, then they would win, then they would prevail. Ve'im lav, but if they were not, for a moment, hayum noflim, they would fall. Kayotze b'davar. Similarly, at the Omer, we learn in Bamidbar, aseh lecha saraf v'simoto alanes. When there was a plague running through the camp, and Hashem told Moshe to make a serpent to put on a staff, and whoever looks at it lived. There were snakes in the camp, and people were dying. And whoever looked up at this staff with a serpent on it of copper lived. Whoever was bitten and looked up at this staff would live. V'ki nachash memit was the snake that bit them, that which gave death, o nachash mechaya, or the snake that they looked at, that which gave life. Ela bizman she Yisrael mistaklin klape mala. Rather, when the Jewish people are looking up to heaven, umishabdin et libam lavihem shabashamayim, and subjugating their hearts, subjecting their hearts to their Father in heaven, hayumitrapin, then they would be healed. Vim lav, but when they were not doing that, hayunimokim, they would melt, they would dissolve. Cheresh, a deaf person. Shota, a foolish person. V'katan, a minor. Ein motzian et harab midei chovatan. So why the Mishnah puts this together? That's very interesting. Cannot fulfill the obligation for someone, meaning that the minor or the deaf or the deaf mute or the someone who is not in their right mind, they cannot recite a bracha and I will fulfill my obligation, or they cannot blow the shofar or read the Megillah. Zaklal, kol she'eino mechuyev b'davar, if the person themselves are not obligated in the matter, eino motzi et harab midei chovatan, they cannot fulfill someone else, help someone else fulfill their obligation. Since the deaf, mute, the minor are not obligated in the mitzvah of Megillah or shofar, so they cannot help someone else fulfill their obligation. Perhaps it's putting it together with the previous halachas, because we are talking about how something might make something spiritually significant or not. Like the hands pointing up would help them win, and whether you take a moment to intend your heart would give the mitzvah impact. Okay, so that's Mishnah Chet, and that's finishing chapter Gimel, and now we're on the last chapter, chapter 4 in Masechet Rosh Hashana, and perhaps we'll do that tomorrow. Have a good evening.